I'm told, I don't know if I can say this on the air. I'm told I have Trump derangement syndrome. And for anybody that tells me that, I said this on Pierce Morgan. Jack Posobiec said I had Trump derangement syndrome. I told him he had Trump fellatio syndrome. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can
I
say
can
that. It's
come back
satellite
at you.
radio. Yeah, 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 yeah. Tell them right there. A little bit, you got a little something right there in the corner of your mouth.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
All
Yep.
right. How did you get radicalized? Like who turned you? What happened to you, Brian? Why aren't you like the rest of the knuckle dragon?
Well, I never consider myself ever being changed. I've always been the same person. My parents grew me up not to, I was grown up not to judge people based on skin color or sexuality. I was told to treat people the way you want to be treated. And I've always had the idea of, I want the president of the United States to set the standard. I want him to be a decent human being. I didn't always agree with Barack Obama, but I always respected him. He's a good father. He's a good husband. I think he's a decent man and a good human being. I felt the same way about John McCain, quite frankly. I respected John McCain. I thought one of the best moments in politics in my lifetime was when John McCain took that microphone from that crazy old lady and said, "No, ma'am, Barack Obama's a decent man, a good family man. We just disagree on politics." I thought that was a nice moment for the country. Can you imagine Donald Trump ever acting like that? I
No.
even have some respect for a guy like Mitt Romney. At least he voted to impeach Donald Trump, or Liz Cheney. I can disagree with someone on policy, but to answer your question, I haven't really changed that much at all. I think I got more involved in politics when Donald Trump got involved in politics. But, I'm told, I don't know if I can say this on the air. I'm told I have Trump derangement syndrome. And for anybody that tells me that, I said this on Pierce Morgan. Jack Posobiec said I had Trump derangement syndrome. I told him he had Trump fellatio syndrome. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can
I
say
can
that.
come
It's
back
satellite
at you.
radio. Yeah, 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 yeah. Tell them right there. A little bit, you got a little something right there in the corner of your mouth. We're talking with Brian Shapiro. As the challenge every day, I don't tolerate, nonsense on these airwaves. So we used to get the calls and we don't get them anymore, primarily because I'm not going back and forth with you. I'm not, we're not equals. I'm actually doing work here. You're trolling. It's a no troll zone. But I appreciate what you do because it's important. We'll get one straggling through, like, that stray roach that when you're living in an apartment building with people who you may get a stray roach come through. We may get one every now and then. But for you, it seems like a daily situation. How do you prepare for the nonsense? How do you prepare for it, Brian?
Don't really prepare for the nonsense. You can come at me with anything and I'll be ready to go. As far as my preparation for the show, I do the news of the past 24 hours. I take all the audio clips. I'll listen to a little bit of CNN and a little bit of Fox News, which I have to, and then I make my own, form my own opinions on that. I don't really prepare for people. If people want to call in and they want to say stupid things, I'll correct the record. I'm not going to be always right. I can have a civil conversation with a Trump supporter. What I can't do is have a civil conversation with somebody that says things that are not true or misquotes me. That's what kind of gets me going a little bit. But I'll step into the fire with people. I mean, I'm doing the Tim Pool show again in a few weeks. I did the Tim Pool show in person in DC, and I was called homophobic slurs. I was called Jewish tropes from Myron Gaines, but I gave it back to him. But I don't want to get into those types of conversations. I'd rather have a conversation and good political discourse without the insults. But like I said, if people want to go down that rabbit hole, I'll defend myself. But I don't really prepare myself for these people, but I certainly know where they're coming from. And I think most of these people are coming from a very bad place, and I feel sorry for them.
I have assessed that there is no helping them, which is why I don't engage. Like I feel like Jim Jones drinking the Kool-Aid, I do feel like it's a cult. I do feel like there's no rational, reasonable,
Yeah.
Response that you can give them that's going to make them go, you have a good point. I'm going to think about that and come back and I'm apologize. I shouldn't have done, I was not thinking about this. There's never going to be that. So I've assessed that those roughly 77 million Americans who probably can't be helped, but 90 million people didn't vote. I think we should focus on the 90 million that made a decision to either vote down ballot, not vote because they couldn't vote for genocide, Joe, whatever.
Mm.
I think politics is rights and resources. That's it. And let's drive that home. Everyone lives somewhere. You need to have representation. You need good water, good clean roads, better schools, and all the things. So let's elect better people. How does that happen? Well, you have to register to vote, and then you have to vote. And let's focus on that as opposed to all of this stuff that has nothing to do with rights and resources. It's all how I feel. Do you think
Yeah.
that's the way forward? Do you think that that's going to help us?
We might disagree on this a little bit. I think that more Democrats need to go on Fox News, just like I think more MAGA Republicans need to go on MSNBC. I would rather have a conversation with somebody that I disagree with than have a conversation with somebody that I agree with. I have more Republican politicians on my show than Democrats. I have Democrats on my show too. I mean, absolutely. But I would rather have political discourse with people that I disagree with. With that being said, you're right. There's a lot of people that sat out that didn't vote. We have to get to those people and make sure that they vote and they get to the polls. That's a big problem. There are a lot of people that are brainwashed. Sometimes I get calls from people that said, Brian, because I listened to your show, I'm no longer a supporter of Donald Trump. There's not enough of those people. But not to say that I don't enjoy interviewing. Jasmine Crockett has done my show. I think she's very intelligent. I like talking to her. I've interviewed AOC, a ton of people on the left, Dr. Jill Biden. But I really enjoy more interviewing people on the far right. I've had Caroline Levitt on my show. I've had Vivek Ramaswamy. I've had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They played part of my interview on The View. Do I like getting into the insult game? No. But if it happens, I'm going to defend myself. But yeah, I think more people need to go on maybe not so friendly shows and defend themselves and their positions. I think it's a good thing.
I agree with that. Brian Shapiro is here, host of Pushing the Limits. I don't believe it's politics. I don't believe that Trump is a Republican. I don't believe that we're talking about political ideals, because if we were talking about political ideals, we wouldn't be here right now. We're talking about something that is deeper in the culture, in the psyche of America. And that's the thing that has to be really dealt with. We're not talking about left-right politics, Brian. The things we're debating, they have nothing to do with rights and resources. It has everything to do with these personal, deep-seated racist ideas of other people, of the immigrant. This is not politics. So I struggle with that. And if you're talking about Fox versus, Fox is not a political show. It's an ideal show where you could talk about Santa Claus being white and all, that has nothing to do with my rights and resources. And MSNBC and CNN, nobody's watching those programs anyway. Cable news is dead. So going on those shows is like an echo chamber anyway. And these people behind the scenes laugh with each other. They go. So to me, if anything, they're the problem. I look at cable news and all of the back and forth. They created this WWE scenario around things that are too important to have it be left and right.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Right-wing conservative talk radio is an echo chamber. It's a joke. The Mark Levins of the world and others, they don't interview anybody they disagree with, and they're cowards. I completely agree with you on that. It's sad. Now, if one of those shows asks me to come on, I'll gladly do it. Like Tim Pool, who, I respect people that are willing to at least listen to the other side and have good spirited debates. But you're right. As a whole, right-wing conservative talk radio are all just a bunch of cowards that spew the same propaganda. Rush Limbaugh was a perfect example of that. Rarely did he ever interview somebody and have an actual debate with somebody. And listen, I think, not to open up a can of worms here, but obviously what happened to Charlie Kirk was horrible. I was on the air and I got emotional. I feel for his kids and everybody that was there. It was horrible. And the one thing I did have in common with Charlie Kirk, the one thing, was that he wanted to interview or debate people he disagreed with. The problem I had was that he only debated a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old liberals and rarely ever debated people his own age or older. But I think more conservatives, I think a lot of them are cowards. They look at it as an attack when you disagree with somebody, and the Sean Hannitys, the Mark Levins. When was the last time Laura Ingraham had a debate with somebody? They don't. So I think it's cowardly.
But this is why I brought up cable news. It's not designed to debate. It's entertainment. It's designed for the algorithm. It's designed for the outrage because that's what brings in the money.
I think you can do both. And now call me crazy. I used to watch Hannity and Combs because that show was That was a good show. I thought Alan Colmes was a great man. May he rest in peace. And
Yeah, he was.
I thought it was a good show because we were able to hear both perspectives. I was able to tolerate Sean Hannity. Back when Tucker Carlson was somewhat normal and he didn't turn into a
He
white
was. People don't
supremacist.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sat on a
Crossfire was
panel with he
right.
and Rachel Maddow, and
Yep.
yes, no, it was
Crossfire was a very good show. He turned into this radicalized white supremacist, and or he realized that if he spewed his right-wing pro-Russia white supremacist propaganda, he would make money. And it's funny because I'm a big Don Lemon fan, right? I grew up with Don Lemon, and Don Lemon, I wanted to get him on my show, and I saw that he followed me on social media, and we became friends ever since. And he's like, Brian, I wish I could do what you do, but then everyone's going to call me the angry black guy. He said, and I thought that was really funny and sad in the same token, right? But Don Lemon was the perfect example, in my opinion, of debating people that he disagreed with, speaking truth, being a good journalist, and he was attacked for it, and he received a lot of death threats for it. And I think there are a few people like that now. CNN to me is almost I don't even recognize it anymore compared to what it once was, and it's sad.
I grew up when Bernie Shaw was on there, so I'm really nostalgic about what it could have been and what it should have been. We're talking with Brian Shapiro. To your point, debate is important. Civilized debate. I feel like that's what's missing right now in this country. There's no civility, and primarily, and I'm going to blame social media because it allows for anybody to have a voice. Like there's no standard. Like you don't have to know anything to have an opinion. You could do your own research on YouTube and be an expert and have a channel. And if a million people are following you, you're an expert. How do we get away from this?
Well, here's the problem. It comes down to money. It's not. It's just about who can spew out propaganda first. The Laura Loomers of the world, people that have no journalism integrity. They can't even spell the word. They're not journalists, and it's all about clicks. It's all about money, spewing out propaganda. After the New Orleans terrorist attack, it was Joe Biden's fault. It was an undocumented immigrant. And then when it turned out that it was somebody that was born in this country, they didn't retract anything. After the Paul Pelosi attack, even right-wing politicians were saying it was some sort of gay relationship and that he let him in. And then when the police report said otherwise, they didn't retract. They'll spew, and it does come from the left once in a while, but mainly from the right today, these conspiracy theories. I mean, we have one Afghan who committed a horrible crime, an innocent 20-year-old woman killed in D.C. and another man fighting for his life right now, my understanding. This isn't anybody's fault, but the person who did it. Yes, he was granted asylum back in 2025 by the Trump administration. Biden also, his administration. So you can't blame the left or the right for one crazy lunatic who committed a horrible act. And every time something like this happened, people want to blame one side or the other. And it's really tiresome.
It also makes us vulnerable as a nation. That e pluribus unum, that thing, that united we stand, divided we fall. We're so divided now. It's crazy. To your point, the Trump regime is considering expanding the travel ban, which currently restricts or bars the entry of nationals from 19 countries to now 30 nations. So we're becoming more isolated because of the actions of one person, as he hosts the Prince of Saudi Arabia, when 19 of the people who attacked this country in 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. We never make those connections, right? Because there's trillions of dollars. There's money there, right?
He funded those people, and that government literally funds terrorists. And he's in business with the Saudis. Let's keep in mind, Jared Kushner received $2.1 billion from the Saudis. A $5.5 billion resort is going to be built there, a $400 million jet gift. And he's invited to the White House. By the way, this is a week after a former al-Qaeda leader was invited to the White House. And it is so sickening to me. And then asked about the Khashoggi murder, where we know that the Saudi prince was one of the people, the masterminds behind killing this innocent man, this journalist. And then Donald Trump takes the side of the prince, just like in every other situation with Kim Jong-un, if you remember, with Otto Warmbier. Oh, I don't think Kim Jong-un had anything to do with it because he told me he has nothing to do with it. He takes the side of evil dictators, murderous dictators. He rolls out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin. And what have we gotten in return? Nothing. It's sick because I think Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator himself.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.